Yo, what is up, guys? This is, of course, your boy Bernie here, along with Pete and Brad.
What's up, guys?
What's up?
And today we're going to talk about the standings. And, we played a couple games right now. Obviously, we had some in-season tournament games. We have regular season games. But we're here to talk about records, right? And as you guys can see on the screen here, there's a couple of teams with records that are below 500 and above 500. And we want to know, and we're going to ask the questions here, which teams below 500, which teams above 500, and even teams maybe that are middling around at that 3-3 like the Pacers are. We want to know, are these records for real, or is this just a fake record in terms of we think that this is just they got lucky, or we think that they had a favorable schedule matchup, and we think that they're going to actually struggle even more. But without further ado, like I said, please remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button if you're new. Again, all this stuff helps out the channel tremendously as we are trying to grow this channel to become something bigger. And of course, we do appreciate the love and support that you guys are showing on these videos lately. It's been awesome, so I do appreciate that. But with that being said, who wants to take the floor on this? And where are we starting?
I'll start with an easy one. The Blazers are 500 right now, and I don't.
Oh yeah,
they've had a pretty easy schedule. They've played the Grizzlies twice. I think today is the second time they play them. And the Grizzlies have statistically the worst offense in the league, so that's an easy matchup. They've played the Pistons, also another easy matchup. So I see them being like the 14th seed by the time the season is over.
yeah. I honestly am astounded by that team. Like that is basically Chauncey Billups is the definition of just full send on that team. Just we're gonna put Shaden Sharp is gonna be out there for 48 minutes tonight. Who cares?
Yeah.
Let him do it. Let him do everything. And that's basically the entire methodology of the whole team. We're gonna just send these young guys. It's the opposite of Rick Carlisle. It's basically take all these young guys and we're gonna run these dudes into the ground every night. And honestly, I'm kind of here for it so far. They're kind of fun to watch.
Yeah.
They are fun to watch. They left Scoot out there to dry, though. I feel like I don't know.
It really did.
He should have maybe been coming off the bench just to get his feet wet. But yeah, they were leaving him out there to dry every night.
I don't know. I kind of like it though. Just let him do. You're in Portland, right? Just let him be out there. I think he's got the mentality where it's it's not gonna kill his confidence. I don't think. But yeah. I think that's pretty fair. Maybe have a little bit more strategy in terms of how we acclimate these guys to the league.
Yeah,
definitely. And shout out to Malcolm Brogdon for helping me in fantasy basketball. I actually might win my matchup this week, so shout out to you. Who wants to go next? What other team can we look
at? I'm gonna point Bernie. Let me ask you, Bernie, before I pose mine. What's the team you think I was gonna say?
You know what?
Did you think I was gonna say it?
I was gonna say you're leaning towards an Eastern Conference team. I'll leave it.
I am not. I am not leaning towards an Eastern Conference team. I am leaning towards the shock of the NBA so far, in my opinion, which is the 4-1 Dallas Mavericks. Guys, this is an illusion. This is a mirage. This is not
news?
real. This is fake news. I refuse to believe this is real. Actively, I don't think it's even feasible. These are the teams they have beaten so far. Game 1, they beat the San Antonio Spurs, Wembanyama's first game. Brooklyn Nets second, Memphis Grizzlies third, the Chicago Bulls fourth, and then they lost to the Denver Nuggets. Guys, I am telling you right now, that is the definition of a cupcake schedule. This team is just not it. I truly it's probably the worst 4-1 team I think I've ever seen. And honestly, that's strong because they've had a couple good outings. But really what it comes down to is the fact that Derek Lively is overproducing for where we thought he was going to be. Which, mind you, I'm not trying to take anything away from him. He's been really, really solid for a rookie. But they're absolutely running Luka into the ground this season. And this is basically what the problem with this team is. If at any point he is even remotely banged up, this team will go on a huge losing streak. They just don't have any depth. The guys on their bench are not there. Like Brad, we talked about it a lot in the offseason. Not just Derek Lively, but they need something from guys like Omax, Prosper, the rookie. They're not getting anything from spots like that. Dwight Powell, you got Josh Green is he's been okay for the most part. And Grant Williams, I will say, has been a pretty solid addition to this team, especially the defense. He is lived up to what they signed him for, in my opinion, at least. But as soon as this team starts playing really, consistently solid squads, man, they're just going to start roping off losses. They just really are not. They just don't have it, man. They don't really have any identity outside of that heliocentric offense that they do with Luka, right? Like if Luka is having his game, I mean, that works against teams like the Grizzlies and, the Spurs. And I'm not trying to take anything away from Luka either, but I just don't think the league is at a point where that's good enough to get you to the playoffs. Personally, I think it's way too thin of a roster. And really, if we're talking about teams with bad rotations, I mean, I'm sorry, but Jason Kidd he's getting the free pass of the century so far this first 5 games of the season.
I agree. I definitely agree with that.
Because there are people really convinced that this is for real. I just don't even understand how little of this you could watch to think that this is a fair representation of a championship caliber team. It's just not.
It's only going to get worse too, because they play the Hornets today, who played yesterday. So Hornets off a back-to-back, and then they play the Magic. So they might be 7-1. Or
it really might. This is going to be like a huge mirage team, in my opinion. Like they're probably going to be solid throughout the first half of the season. Maybe. I even didn't think that was possible, but they might, and it's just not going to be able to hold up until the end of the season. I just don't think it's possible.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see from here. Like you said, Brad, they play the Hornets tonight, so like you said, it could be 7-1, could be a good record for them.
Yeah, Hornets, Magic, Raptors, back to back. So they got probably another 3 wins in them.
I got them losing to the Raptors. I feel like, yeah. Scotty Barnes he's taking the leap this year, and they have a good defense. Yeah.
Let me move on to a team that I think is I think that this is kind of I think this is who they are. We'll go Utah Jazz because we haven't really talked about them, and for the right reason. There hasn't been any reason to talk about them. Kind of looking at their record right here, you guys can see on the left-hand side here, they played the Kings, obviously took that L. They played the Clippers. They won that game because the Clippers are the most fraudulent team in the NBA. That might be a sneak peek into some record showing there. Lost to the Phoenix Suns, understandable. Lost to the Nuggets, very understandable. Beat the Grizzlies, very understandable. Grizzlies are a team we probably should talk about in terms of the biggest frauds in the NBA. Magic lost to them, Timberwolves lost to them. This team, when you look at the roster and you look at the depth in terms of like who's starting and who, just the team, clearly this is not a team that overperformed last year. A team that wasn't really scouted very well, I would say. And I just think that's the reason why they were able to go on such a big run. They have Clarkson, Horton Tucker, Marketing. They now have Collins in the lineup, and they have Walker Kessler. And so, I think that this team is kind of who I thought they were going to be last year is now happening this year. A team that's going to be very solid, a team that's going to be, meddling at that below 500, but maybe close to 500, but definitely not a playoff team, definitely not even a play-in team. And, I'm curious to see, for a guy like Taylor Hendricks, he's not even in this rotation. Like he's not even a guy that they're they're looking at. So
I hated that pick. I feel pretty strongly about that. That was pretty suspect.
Yeah. So I feel bad for the Jazz in that perspective because, I would say the fans just more so than really anybody else, just because they have to. The draft pick is clearly like last on the list, like not going to be a guy that's in the rotation at all. And they're going to kind of roll out the same team, which, if you scout them pretty well, exactly what they're going to do. And, the record shows for it.
Yeah. They desperately need some guards, man. Their guards are so bad.
THT and Clarkson, man.
THT.
Yeah. Yikes.
I feel like they regret
Colin Sexton off the bench too.
They have they're all the same player. That is so rough. They have to regret not tanking earlier last year, because then they would have gotten a better pick, and then them being bad this year wouldn't hurt as much because at least you have a good pick that you can develop. Like they don't even have Keontae George is nice, and I love seeing him play, but they could have got it a top. They could have had a Thompson twin.
They could have had a Thompson twin, exactly. They really they sold, man. I totally agree with you, Brad. This is the definition of a team that tanked at the wrong time. They didn't understand when to tank and what draft they should have been looking at. Like, this is not the draft for them coming up either. Like,
Yeah.
there's not a lot of top end talent. I mean, if they got very lucky and got one of those, big, like, kind of lanky white point guard guys that are coming out, like the Cooper Flag or Buzelis, I mean, that's a very Utah like pick, right?
So maybe they're looking for the next white hope.
Maybe it fits the agenda, maybe that's what they were waiting for. But
oh my God. Now that you say that, Pete, I can see it. Oh my God. Adam Silver, Cooper Flag, and Larry Markkinen in Utah. Oh my God.
The white wave.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Jesus. Yeah. Utah. I mean, I'm just saying, Bernie, they didn't think it out. Like, they had a much better draft to look at guards, and they definitely punted down the river, but they just didn't have it like a good plan. They didn't really have a good plan, and I still don't think they do. I don't think they know what their timeline is.
Yeah. I think it's commendable, to be honest with you guys. Like, I think for them to battle it out, but obviously that hurts them in the long run, because now, like you said, they kind of got a couple of guys, and maybe they just Danny Ainge, maybe has he lost his touch? Because I mean,
see, I don't know, Bernie. I think they're playing like a weird game in Utah, because I don't know if you guys heard, but they were definitely involved trying to get Damian Lillard. Like, that was definitely out there. They were making phone calls to Portland.
That is ludicrous, because Dame in Utah sounds like that's a worse hell than the Blazers.
It's really weird, but I think it says less about Dame and obviously more about what Utah's agenda is, right? Like, Danny Ainge is constantly just trying to make moves all the time. So I think, like, they're sneaky, like, if a star comes available that we're not expecting, I'm just saying, I feel like they're going to be one of those teams that we're going to wake up one day like, Utah just traded for Paul George? Like, what? What happened? Right? And then they're going to be like a kind of middling playoff team again, right? So I don't know. I don't really understand what their plan is, but that's kind of why we're talking about them, I guess.
I really hate how teams, like, I don't know, like the Taylor Hendricks pick, he probably shouldn't have gone lottery. He's still talented and good, but like that's just how you kill players' careers. It's kind of a messed up situation. He's not even playing. He's not getting a chance to develop. I don't know if he's in the G League or not playing down there. I don't think he is. You can't send a number 9 pick down there. Yeah. Like, the optics of sending
don't say that to the Wizards.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's pretty messed up. Like, we don't even get a chance to see what the kid can do. I don't like that at all.
Yeah, but how did they not see that coming? I mean, you take a raw power forward from Central Florida when you have a guy that just won Most Improved, at power forward, right? Like,
Larry was playing, I want to say he was playing the 3, so I thought Taylor would at least be like a backup 4, but then they traded for John Collins
too. Yeah.
They have Collins, so he has to move up.
A team of power forwards. Kelly Olynyk is basically a power forward too. I mean, I think he technically gets listed as a center, but he's basically playing like a stretch 4.
Yeah.
So they just have an ocean of power forwards that aren't as good as Lauri Markkinen and then Lauri Markkinen. So yeah, I don't get it, but their guards are so bad. I think ultimately it comes down to that. They have no guard play. They traded away. Like, look at this team. They were good when they had Mike Conley. Like, it's really that simple. They had Mike Conley, and now they don't, and now they have no offense. They have no pick and roll, nothing.
Yeah, that's
Colin
the
Sexton
part.
Colin Sexton is underrated, one of the worst players in the league. I hate to just like take shots at guys like that, but he is like just an abysmal player, and I don't know. Damn. I just had to say it.
Tell us how you
Sorry, Sexton. Anakin braid, dude, rubs me the wrong way.
Anakin braid. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I mean, just a couple of guys that they could have even taken. They could have taken, even though they could have taken Cason Wallace.
Oh my God, Bernie, don't even
Grady Dick,
going, man. That would have been so much better of a pick for them, Cason Wallace.
I mean, they took Keontae George, but like, I don't get taking him when you have Clarkson. That doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make any sense. Just a shot-heavy guard,
Yeah.
Not a playmaker.
Could have taken their Grady Dick.
Could have had a Grady Dick.
That's a Danny Ainge wet dream.
That's what I'm saying. He had it, and he let it slip away.
Grady Dick wet dream of Danny Ainge.
Shout out to
Yo.
shout out to Phil. Shout out to Phil Hoban.
Pause. Yo.
Yeah.
Pausing everywhere.
Does anyone else have who's got the next team for us?
I'm gonna go with the team that I just watched play a couple days ago in the East. A team that I think is underperforming, but for pretty obvious reasons, and that's Cleveland. Lots of injuries in Cleveland right now, and this was the story of the first half of their season last year. I felt like it's kind of the same exact way too, because I feel like Jared Allen was out for a little bit in the beginning of last season, and Darius Garland was out in the beginning of last season because he got scratched in the eyeball. Well, they're both out again in the beginning of this season, so their team is it's a little bit thinner than I thought it was. Their roster, like they have guys like. His name is Craig Porter Jr. Have you guys watched him play at all? Undrafted rookie.
He's nice.
He is pretty solid for an undrafted free agent. I think he was from Wichita State, if I remember correctly.
I think so. Yeah.
That's pretty solid. But the fact that they're already so thin that they're running out undrafted free agent rookies, it says a lot about where they're at right now. And if we're talking about coaches that I think have some of the worst rotations, I'm sorry to say this. I'm pretty sure JB Bickerstaff is not that guy. He is a questionable coach at best, in my opinion, and it's kind of funny watching him go up against Tibbs because I kind of feel like he's kind of the worst younger version of Tibbs in some ways. He gets very, very stagnant in his rotations. He's not very creative, and he kind of just basically sets out a plan and says, you know what, we're going to ride this until the end of this game. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, so be it. Right. Mm-hmm. But yeah, Cleveland 2-4 so far. I think they're kind of a consensus top 4, top 5 type of team in the Eastern Conference, and so far it just hasn't looked like that. But I do think they're definitely a rebound team. Like they're only 2-4. They're going to be 500 within the next 5 games, I would argue.
Yeah, they play the Warriors tonight, and I feel like they might give them some trouble with the Twin Towers.
Yeah, is Jared Allen back?
Yeah,
let's see.
Darius is too.
That's problems for the Warriors.
Putting in my fantasy team, so Jared Allen needs to step up.
That is problems for the Warriors.
I kind of want to. I'm gonna be a shield for JB Bickerstaff here, just because.
Shield for him, please.
Okay.
Yeah,
I agree. I agree. Shield for him.
The Pacers, the Cavs are like. I say this all the time, but they're 101 on how to not build a team. Like JB Bickerstaff doesn't really have a choice. You know, he has 2 small guards and then he has 2 bigs who can't do anything other than catch lobs. You know, he was the first person to play Larry at the wing. So like when he had him, he was able to be a little more creative. But then they traded Larry for another small guard, and now you have Mitchell and Garland intersecting, and it's just kind of screwing up like what the other can do, and it's mainly Garland taking that hit because Mitchell's the better player. But like, I just feel like JB. I agree in a sense with his rotations because some of them are pretty whack. Like you have Isaac Okoro in spots that he shouldn't be in at all. Mm-hmm. But it's just so hard to do when the roster construction isn't there. Like they have no spacing. Max Strus is good at that, but that's pretty much.
Pete, we need to talk about that one.
I mean, he had one really great game. He's been pretty average since, but he's
rebounding well for them at least. And even if he's not hitting, he provides like the spacing because team, white shooter, you can't leave him.
No, I will accept. I was wrong about Strus, but even then, what was anybody expecting? I mean, he's there to take shots. He's going to shoot.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's literally what they paid. $20 million. He better hit some shots. Like
this is why
that's not proof that this is a great signing. It could be. It's just it needs to amount to something in big games, which so far it hasn't.
Yeah, I think it's an okay signing.
Mind you, they haven't played big games. They're only 6 games in. That's why I'm saying they're a team that's underperforming, and I think they're going to be better. Like they're better than the Knicks are right now, even though the Knicks beat them.
The Knicks might have their number just because Mobley and Allen are kind of
Yeah. Mitch kind of bullies Mobley around. Like it's kind of one of the more illuminating matchups from where Mobley's at right now.
Exactly.
It hurts me as a diehard Mobley stan, but
it hurts me as a Mobley dynasty owner. My goodness.
Yeah. I don't know. I totally see where you guys are coming from with Bickerstaff, but all in all, it's the same stuff I saw from him last season. And I get that you're totally right. Kobe Altman is killing him with the versatility of the players on the roster. Like everybody on their team pretty much is good at one side of the ball and bad at the other. Like literally, every single person on the team is not a two-way player.
Max Strus is probably their best two-way player. Like no bullshit.
He's pretty close. That's painfully, It's either him or Jared Allen are close, and even then, that says something because Jared Allen is not very good on offense either, right? So it's definitely poor roster construction. But I don't know. I'd like to see some balance. If you're limited to that type of player, I think there's some rotations they could probably put out there that are better than
Money
what they
Bates.
do. But
Money Bates,
dude,
that's why I think he'll get minutes. Like they need.
If there's anybody I've been impressed with that I was not expecting this soon, it's Imani Bates. He genuinely looks like really good. Like he's one of the better rookies I've seen so far.
Yeah, I mean, watching him at where he ended up going to Eastern Michigan after the Memphis thing, right? Like I watched a couple games. I'm not gonna say I'm like out here scouting him and looking at his numbers like that, but. Just the couple games I watched him, he's a fantastic scorer. So, and he's long, and that's something that again, this is what this team needs, especially because I've compared Darius Garland to like a Steve Nash-esque type of player. Like he can set up his guys and do all these other things. But what helps Steve Nash out, if you guys remember, is having bigger guys out there so he can just throw them lobs, he can get them passes. That is what I think that the Cavaliers need to do in the future. Is like they need to start. They need to, because especially with Donovan Mitchell, I don't think he's going to re-sign the contract extension.
No, he's gone. No. He's so gone.
So I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't be shocked if he's traded this season.
Yeah.
Knicks.
Yeah. Unfortunately, yes. I actually think that's the chances of that are very high.
Okay.
Might be the number one most likely big trade coming this season, in my opinion.
Okay. Does anyone else have a team or?
I gotta flex on the Grizzlies real quick because I called this a long time ago.
Let's talk about them.
That team, 0-6. Oh my goodness, they might be 0-7 after they play Portland today. That would be hilarious.
I actually think they're gonna be.
That is way too funny.
They have nothing. They have nothing going well for them. I gotta pull up. You keep going, Brad. I gotta pull up advanced stats for a second because there was something I saw that was mind blowing for this team.
I got you. They are the worst offense in the league. As of November 3rd, 2 days ago, they're the worst offense in the league by like a mile. I think ahead of the Knicks. The Knicks are right behind them. But I mean, I just don't see what the point of this team is. You have Jaren Jackson playing center when he can't rebound, so he's playing out of position. You signed Bismack Biyombo, and he's not even playing right now. You don't have any wing depth. Your only wing is Zaire Williams. Taylor Jenkins is kind of, if we want to talk about rotations, he's kind of being exposed as a fraud. That he can't. He kind of has no idea what he's doing. He's just throwing stuff at the wall and hoping it sticks. They put David Roddy in the starting lineup the other night and put Jaren at center, and then they got obliterated by Portland. And I think Ayton had 21 and 16.
Yes, he did. That was a big game.
Yeah, that team is terrible. People thought that the Memphis Grizzlies, all that would keep them afloat and oh my gosh, there's Taylor Jenkins is a great coach. But if you looked at that roster before the season started, especially knowing that John Morant wasn't going to play for them, that team is terrible. I didn't think they'd be 0-7, but it makes me feel happy to know that I saw this and I knew they'd be terrible.
Yeah, I'm not finding this thing I was looking for, but you're spot on, Brad. I mean, they really have no identity whatsoever. And I mean, it's kind of funny to look back and remember that stretch where Ja was out a couple years ago, and what did they end up going
Well, they're better without Ja.
21-6 or something without him. And now we see this is what it really is. That team was just filled with good vibes. they still had the confidence of a team that hadn't been shown who they really were quite
What year?
yet.
What year was that? 20.
That was 2021, I believe. I think it was the year after the pandemic.
And to like piggyback off that, Pete, like I've seen people on Twitter. I still call it Twitter. It's not X, but like they've been running victory laps on like the take that the Grizzlies were better without Ja. Like they're like, oh, see, like that take was always dumb. But it's like yeah, it was always dumb. Like for sure, they were always better with Ja. But like also no Steven Adams, no Tyus Jones. They traded him like he didn't matter for Marcus Smart.
Yep.
No, Brandon Clark's been injured. No Kyle Anderson. No DeAnthony Melton. Like those guys, those players all mattered. If they had those guys now, they wouldn't be 0-7. So like even with the Steven Adams injury. So like it's just it's poor roster construction by Zach Kleiman out there in Memphis.
Yeah, I was gonna piggyback on that.
It's abysmal.
Because I mean like the roster, like if we compare the two rosters, it's absolutely atrocious. Again, you know how I feel about Marcus Smart. You know, Celtic, love him, but again, does some boneheaded decisions at times. And your backups are Derrick Rose, Kennard,
who's out.
Yeah, who's out. You got Conchar, who is out. Aldma, Santi,
who's also out.
And then you got Tillman.
Yeah.
And this team over here, you had the Senator Ted Cruz, aka Grayson Allen there. You had Kyle Anderson, like you were saying, Brad. Dylan Brooks, for whatever you think about him, whether you like him or hate him.
Yeah, yeah. They scapegoated him, and he was the reason they stayed afloat with his defense, honestly.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
yeah,
it's frustrating.
Yeah, man. This team is it's kind of crazy. Like it really seems like they didn't understand what their players' skill sets were. Like I think that's something that I think is the most fascinating. Like they traded away Tyus Jones, right?
As soon as I got that alert, and my heart was like, "What? Like how?
Yeah. Tyus Jones is the glue, man. He's a glue guy.
His replacement is a guy that literally, like, it's a miracle when I shouldn't say that. I'm being maybe overly harsh on Marcus Smart, but I think when it comes down to it, like Bernie, they're seeing all the worst things about Marcus Smart illuminated in front view, right? Like from the beginning of the season, this is the guy they got, and this is who they've hedged their bets on, is a guy like Marcus Smart. Like, I don't really understand why they're not making moves right this second. Like, it's not going to get better. Like, you have no center on your team that's worthy of starting. Like, no offense to Xavier Tillman. He's solid. He's a solid backup in the league.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot win games in the Western Conference as it stands right now with Xavier Tillman as your starting center. It's not feasible. He doesn't move fast enough. It's not even just him though. They have literally no like high level. I don't know, man. I feel like there's a lot of exposing going on with this team because it's not just Taylor Jenkins. Like, I feel like this is a big expose on Jaren Jackson Jr. as like a perennial defensive player of the year candidate. No, he's not. I just don't want to hear it anymore. Like, the situation is not always going to be perfect for these guys, and this is the best example possible of the situation is no longer ideal for these guys. And we're seeing their true colors be shown, I do feel very vindicated in my Desmond Bane take. Like, he is the only one that's doing anything for this team.
Yeah.
It's just based on, like, they have no one else who can even create a shot for themselves, so he just has to take, like, 25 shots a game or something. It's nuts. But, yeah, man, they're a nightmare to watch. I don't understand what they're doing.
They have two of the last defensive player of the years on their team, and they're a below average defense.
Yeah.
Definitely.
No identity.
Yeah.
Definitely. And let us know in the comment section down below, what do you guys make of these teams? Do you guys agree or disagree with our takes here? Let us know in the comment section down below. Which team under 500 or above 500 do you think accurately represents who they are or doesn't represent them? Let us know who you guys think, and if you guys agree with our opinions or disagree, let us know in the comment section down below.